Pennies Going in Raw is a production of iHeartRadio. The opinions expressed in the following podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security or investment product. It is only intended to provide education and entertainment about the financial industry and the stock market. Enjoy!
On this episode of Pennies Going in Raw, we discuss the LULU earnings play, the SPY dip, and more.
You find out life's this game of pennies.
Oh, you guys know we only have a 40% runner. Hello, 40% is a fucking killing.
We've been compliant for too long. It's time we go to war.
I don't have a Roth.
Hugh knows so much about the market that his brain doesn't have enough room for grammar.
Hey, who told me about IDEX? It's going up a shit ton now.
Rob, 4%, baby. No way. 4 fucking percent.
You asked the exact same question with 2 words different.
It's like, man, I just got dick whipped for like 20%, and now that f***er's up like 50.
I bet Warren Buffett never did that.
I'm just making this voice memo to call out unusual whales to a fight.
The pennies we need are everywhere around us.
Pennies.
Going in Raw.
Featuring Dan, Deity of Dips,
And Hugh Henny.
Produced by Vinny.
And Christian.
Let's go, baby.
Welcome back to another episode of Pennies Going in Raw. Today is Sunday, April the 3rd. We're recording this on April the 1st on Friday, right as the market's about to close, but there will be no April Fool's jokes here. So we were talking about last week how you wanted a SPY dip. We didn't exactly discuss how much of a dip, but we did pass that 460 range. But it seems like after that, starting Thursday and going into Friday, we had the dips now down all the way to around 450, around 449 to 451 range. Is that enough of a dip, enough of a pullback, or do you expect this to keep going into next week? Or did you add a position? How did you kind of play that?
I don't necessarily think there's like any level that needs to come. I definitely wanted to see it dip just below 450 or, right at 450. But I wasn't opposed to seeing 445. Like, I wasn't going to be pissed if we saw that. Like, this is what we needed. We came up to that resistance. We rejected it. Thursday end of day was pretty ugly. I know that I walked away at 3 o'clock, and when I had checked my portfolio right at 4 or whatever, I had given up half the day. I was like, Jesus, what the hell happened? So that was a pretty ugly, last 20 minutes for the market on Thursday. But I do think that this is I think that we're back to buying the dip, but buying the dip all the way up. And now that the market is above the moving averages, I think that really changes the game. And like I said, is that I think the next tap of 460 should get it through. But if it doesn't, that's fine. The biggest thing is going to be, the timing of the different Fed meetings, and and it's also going to be important to keep in mind, just like different things that are going on with oil and obviously the Ukraine situation. But the Fed is obviously always going to be the number one catalyst until we're back at a lower inflation rate. But until those meetings come up, SPY's kind of doing its own thing, and it's going to do what it wants to do. And so we haven't been seeing the same big moves, but we've still been seeing pretty big moves intraday for the market. And I'm really excited because I feel like this is kind of going to plan. We got our dip. And so now if we get back to that 460 level, I think we break through, and then the next stop would be, 470.
So do you think SPY right now, have you noticed it following more like trader trends on like the chart, or because it seems like it's kind of dissociated with the headlines as we were kind of talking about, unless something crazy happens?
Yeah, I think it's pretty disassociated with the headlines unless something crazy happens. But overall, I think it's pretty much it's going to just come down to supply and demand and the chart. But that being said, this can pull back. We did go 410 to 460 in
like
literally
a week and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, like a week and a half. So, even if we wanted to pull back to 440, like that's really not even a crazy move back down. You know what I mean? So I'm okay if the market wants to do that. In fact, I think it's healthy. If the market was literally just coming down to the 10 EMA. That's pretty much all it was doing. So I'm happy with where it is. It got a pop at end of day on Friday. To end it. Start the month green and first day of the quarter. So overall, we'll see what next week brings. But I think that, like I said, the next time that we touch 462, we should break through.
Well, as we go into Q2, looking back on Q1, is there anything you would have done differently aside from just adding your SPY position a little later?
Yeah, one of the worst things about my trading, I'll say, is that I typically need to get punched in the mouth for me to be like, oh, like this strategy doesn't work anymore. Like that whole saying, like get off the bus one stop too late or whatever. I'd rather get off the bus, one stop too late than three stops too early. Yeah, that's typically how my trading strategy goes as well. And it's really great when things are working. But when things aren't working, it typically takes me literally taking like a pretty substantial loss for me to then need to adapt. And so with that being said, it's not always like the best situation, and it's something that I want to continue to work on, for sure. Because I just want to be able to feel the market better. I don't want to feel the need to, get absolutely smoked and then, be like, oh, like let me change my strategy now. If that makes sense?
Yeah, I think for me it was not transitioning well from the shit down market every day, just chop fest, to whenever it was just skyrocketing. Keeping like small positions was a big mistake, and not exactly transitioning to like the bigger size that a real bullish market that the past couple weeks has deserved.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's pretty much what I would change, and just but I feel like I learned so much. So even though I got myself into some sticky situations, I feel like I learned so much, and so if I learn it now and I never have to do those mistakes again, then fantastic.
All right. Well, another thing we have coming up that definitely can affect the market and things we trade, and definitely sympathy plays, is the weed bill. What exactly, do you think that has, and can you kind of go over the basics of it?
Yeah, so Friday. So first off, though, as we all know, like weed tickers have been running into um into this weed bill, and I mean Tilray, I felt like it was blowing up my scanner all day
Do you
every
think
day.
Tilray is still the leader of the chart now? I mean, it used to be others, but I feel like Tilray kind of took over last year as the head weed.
It definitely did. It's definitely like the AMC of the weeds. Like of the meme stocks, Tilray definitely is. It's the first one to go, and then it's usually followed by ACB, and then all the other ones start to follow as well. But so Friday around, I want to say like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Um, 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, the House passed a sweeping weed bill. And basically, let me click into it real quick. So, marijuana legalization bill, but it really didn't give much clarity into the next steps. So the vote on Friday was 220 to 204 vote, and it really, like I read through it, and it really didn't give too much. It basically said that the House passed legislation to decriminalize cannabis, and it scrapped some old. This is direct from an article. Scrapped some old marijuana-related convictions and allow states to make their own decisions about whether to establish marijuana markets.
States' rights,
Um,
baby.
yeah, and so then it continues, but Democrats seem no closer to fulfilling a major campaign promise, passing a party line bill that has little chance of getting the necessary Republican support to pass the Senate. So basically, it basically we're making one step forward, but we know that we're gonna have to step 2 steps back because they don't have the votes in the Senate, or at least that's what it seems like. So I think that's why we saw Tilray kind of sell off at the end of the day, and the weeds kind of sell off at the end of the day, because there's really no clear. There's really it's not going to get passed in the Senate. So we're back to square one. But hey, from a trading standpoint, this will give us another opportunity whenever this comes back up again.
So you think it's still kind of up in the air, not really too sure where this is going?
Yeah, if it passes in the Senate, fantastic. But it seems pretty clear. I mean, the vote was 220 to 204, and pretty much both sides made their what's the word I'm looking for? Made their, kind of they kind of picked their side. Like both Democrats and Republicans individually picked which side they're on, and they made it known. And it really doesn't seem like something that either side is ready to budge on or even come close on. So with that being said, it's good that this is kind of like the first step, but it seems like there is really no. So even though it was passed, it really feels like there's probably not much that's going. It feels like there's not much progress here because it's going to get shot down, or the likelihood is that it gets shut down inside the Senate.
All right. Well, another thing we need to talk about. We talked about earnings plays on Wednesday. You made some predictions on LULU. You talked about the 400 calls. I don't think we made it to 400. Made it to about 395 or so. But those calls would have been up a lot. It was at like 340 when we talked about it. So looking back on that, what do you think about just the whole thing in general, and then kind of what you mentioned on Wednesday versus how it kind of played out? Because I mean, you did call about spot on. Went up about the gapped up 10%. You said it had potential to go to 400. It damn near did. And what do you exactly think about all that?
Yeah, so we pretty much had the same play that we wanted. I actually played it. I took it from like 368 to about 385, and basically it was the same strategy that we talked about. Was that the next morning when it gapped up over the high from the previous post hours, you can take that. Now I did anticipate it a little bit, but that was because of the relative strength that it had. So I think technically the high was 374, and I had taken it at 368. So technically I did anticipate a little bit, but that's okay. And then we said that you can set your stop either at the 200-day moving average, basically just underneath break even, or at the bottom, or at the day's low. So if it's like 10 a.m., you can place it at like the day's low. And, that strategy would have worked pretty well. Now, obviously it didn't hit 400, but I think that even still, if you could squeeze out 10, $15 a share, that's all you're looking for. And so it gave really good risk to reward, in my opinion. Like I was risking like maybe $8 a share, and I made like $20 a share. And so, that gives me really good risk to reward, and that's all I'm looking for. And I was really happy with the play. Now MU, I didn't end up taking, because that was another one that we talked about. I didn't end up taking that one. And I was happy that I didn't. And if I did end up taking, I would have gotten stopped out. But LULU is like a perfect example of one that you can continue to craft, and you continue to work on, so that when the next one comes along, which there will be a next one probably next week, honestly, you can handle that, and you can trade that well.
All right, and another thing we do have coming up soon is AMZN Split. We've seen it happen with a lot of other big stocks recently in the past couple of years, like Apple and Tesla was the other one. Yeah. And seems like a strong buy signal. What are you thinking about the AMZN Split coming up as opposed to, the other ones we've seen?
Yeah, so the Amazon one to me is really interesting because it's a 20 for 1, which I believe, I believe that'll put the price at about, correct me if I'm wrong, but about 160 per share.
Here, let me do some math. Okay, so we're at 271 divided by 20. $163.
$163.
Yeah,
$163. Yeah, so
put
I was
in
pretty
basics.
close.
You'll have 19 extra shares for every one. So if you have one share, you'll now have 20 shares of Amazon. That's a big split. That's a pretty
That's a big split.
I
And
mean,
so-
then again, I was talking about the other day. We were saying, what's the biggest price of stocks gone before a split? And it was like, well, Amazon's pretty fucking high up there, man. You don't really see $3,000 stocks.
No. And so, but this is why I think it's interesting, because everybody knows Amazon. I mean, the last time that Amazon was below 1,000, I think was 2016.
I think it's like 50% of all like online revenue, like or retail or something, goes through Amazon.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And so with that being said, people like to invest in companies that they know, that they use. And so, Amazon is obviously that one. I mean, and especially with the pandemic, I mean, when we weren't leaving our houses and stuff, I mean, people were just using, I mean, I was just using Amazon. So the last time that Amazon was below $1,000 a share was briefly
Yeah, in the 2020 crash? No.
No, not even. Yeah, so 2017.
Oh wow.
2017. Even the 2020 crash, it had only dipped from 2,100 down to 1,600. So last time, like I said, that it was below 1,000.
Yeah,
was
this is a big mental aspect of it too. Not many people are like, people want to invest in companies they use and know, like you said, but $1,000 is a lot of money. 163, that's a good place to start your investing. If you're get out of high school, whatever.
Exactly. And so I think it's really interesting that that it's below 1,000. And the last time that it was below 400 was 2015. Okay? So for me, what this says to me is that, okay, the average person who uses Amazon hasn't really gotten the opportunity to buy Amazon. And what I mean by that is, like we said, is like that mental aspect. If you have $30,000, you're only able to buy, to invest in, and even that's a lot. You're only going to buy like
10 shares. If you wouldn't even be able to get 10 shares, that's not.
And that's
cool.
even if you went all in.
Yeah.
So to me, I think it's really interesting. I think it's one of those things where I believe that that this gives an opportunity for people to buy it, and I wouldn't be shocked if this thing is literally like doubles in no time, because it comes down to supply and demand. Like people who want to buy it are going to be buying it at that 160 mark. When this day that it gets to 160.
These are holders too. They're not.
Yeah, and these are going to be people that are thinking like, I was just talking to someone who want to buy it for their kids $529. Like I get that. Like I
wonder what I know we're saying like how people wouldn't buy it now, but it made me think about like partial shares. I wonder what like the volume percentage is of partial shares, like as traded. Like could it be 3% a day, 5% a day? Because I mean those are kind of new, but I mean I wonder how many people are going on Cash App or Robinhood getting those partial shares of Amazon,
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, so but I do, like I said, I do think that this is really interesting. And I wouldn't be shocked if Amazon, like I said, isn't back up to like 300, which again would be equivalent to it going to like 6,000 right now. I mean, think about Tesla. Like Tesla.
What, 5-to-1 split. That'd be like a $5,000 stock now or whatever it's at.
Yeah, exactly. A $5,000 stock. So that's just so wild. And the other part to this is that I was like, wow, we even
Would
said
you rather buy a Tesla share or a Tesla itself?
Here, a Tesla.
No, I meant like I'm just saying, like it's getting to that point.
Oh no, you're right. I think it was Mia Khalifa said that she sold her Tesla to buy, and I don't even know if this is true, but she said she sold her Tesla to buy Tesla stock.
Oh,
And now it can buy her like 10 Teslas, she said, or something.
well, good, dude. I'm happy she's investing.
And so yeah, so I think like this gives an opportunity. I also, on another front, I don't think it. One thing that we talked about in the last episode was the generational hold of Apple, and we had talked about how even though the market cap is 3 trillion, and that even to 3x your money, you would need a $9 trillion market cap. I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters when you're at a low price target. Like I just don't think that like the average person or like the average investor is going to sit there and be like, I don't know, like 8 trillion seems like high. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's going to be the same thing that we talked about last week, being that in the 80s, people if you had a $200 billion company, or I don't know, let's take like if you had a $700 billion company in the 80s, people would be like, no, like that thing is massive. And so now I feel like we're thinking the same thing about like a $3 trillion company. And so even though just because we don't have a $9 or $10 trillion company doesn't necessarily mean that it's not coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And they have they have like the capabilities to do this. Like really honestly, the big two are Apple and Amazon. Like they can be a $10 trillion companies, I think.
Yeah, it's funny how we went from talking about all the reverse splits that were happening last year to now all the splits happening, of like these massive
bro.
companies.
Massive.
So it's definitely going to be, what do you think that does to SPY though? If Amazon gets super bullish, you always see, Tesla and Amazon, if they're going, SPY's going. Do you think this has any effect on the overall market?
Yeah. I mean, it would push the market up for sure, but we know that the market's already rigged to the long side. And so,
so is Amazon.
Yeah, it is. And so the market can be rigged to you can be bullish on the market and bearish on the economy. I still stand by that because that's what I am. And so with that being said, I understand that people get really, really mad at that saying. But the other thing that we have to understand is that the market, the market, I think I said this last week, but 4% of the gains inside the last 90 years of the stock market, 100% of the gains the market's made inside the last 100 years has come from 4% of the stocks. That's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, so like it just goes back to like stock picking is a loser's game. But my whole point to this is that
invest in Amazon.
Basically invest in company. Like you can buy strength and hold strength. Like don't try to figure out the next Amazon. Just buy Amazon and cost average in. Because at the end of the day, most stocks will go to zero. One thing though that I will say is that I don't really see that happening with Amazon or Apple. I think the brand loyalty is too high. I think it would be really, really hard at this point to try and take their market share, let alone any of their market share. And so I think that that's really important.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, but just judging by the last few, it seems this is definitely a bullish thing for them. After I know, what was it? Tesla was the first in Apple. And I mean, seeing Apple do the exact same thing. I know usually when everyone thinks one thing's going to happen, the other does. But at the same time, I mean, it just, with such big market caps and they always keep doing it, you just think it's going to happen again.
Exactly. And honestly, like one of the things I used to worry about was, like honestly, like the government stepping in and being like, these companies are too big. And now, since we're like kind of on this like other end of things, and watching things, I don't think that. Like I don't think that way anymore. Like I don't think the U.S. government will step in. I also don't know if they would have any grounds to. But I mean, that was just one of the things I used to worry about was them moving into other sectors and stuff. But when you think about it, like India has Tata, like Tata is Tata Motors, Tata Media. I mean, Tata fucking everything. And so I wouldn't be shocked if that's kind of like how things start to go. And so what I might do is I might just take like 25 grand and on the day of the split, I might just throw it all in Amazon and kind of just like
I'll do it
leave
the
it
day
in there
before the
for
split.
yeah, do like you know what I mean? Like leave it in there for 25 years and just see or like 10 years and just give like
I've seen
occasional
your
updates.
Roth, dude. You can't hold for shit. Uh, um. Anyways, so that's happening on May 27th. So prep your buy books, save up your money because we're gonna get some cheap Amazon shit. So this is kind of a true or false thing. Also, like you can guess. Do you know the last time that stocks had a quarter as bad as the one we just ended?
I'm gonna say 1983.
Jesus Christ, no, it was only 2 years, man. It was 2020. But no, this was the worst month for stocks in 2 years. So keep that in mind, all you newer traders. I know a lot of you started 2 years ago. If you had a bad month, well, it looks like the stocks did too. So, keep that in mind.
Dude, it's only 2 years?
Yeah, this is the worst in 2 years. I Googled stock news this week. Big stock news this week, guy.
Big stock news guy this week, huh?
Yeah, this week. So what are you thinking? So we obviously first day of the new quarter. What are you are your goals any different? And what are your kind of expectations for the next 3 months? Because I mean, like we just said, the last three weren't great for a lot of people. It was a chop fest, a lot of it. Do you think we're gonna pick a direction? Or are we gonna have to wait for a Fed meeting? Is the Amazon stock split gonna save us all?
Yeah, so I actually expect volatility to go down. I expect us to release, and these are just my predictions, take them with kind of a grain of salt. But I expect us to start releasing millions of gallons of oil. Kind of like the headline that came out. Yeah, to kind of stabilize the price a little bit. And get the price back down. I would love to see like below 90 a barrel. That would be nice. 85, 80 a barrel would be really, really
dude,
nice.
Gas in LA is pretty fucking expensive. I mean, I'm not in LA,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, no. I mean, what is it near you? $4
it's
a gallon?
like $3.90. Yeah, I mean, I'm on
Yeah, I think we're like
Supreme. I mean, I
$4.15.
drive a Porsche, so.
Oh
yeah,
shit!
yeah. I
Okay.
don't know, dude. The Porsche minivan, dude. Like,
Yeah. So I would love to see like 85, 80, 85, 80, 85 a barrel. And so as far as the market goes, I'd like to see volatility kind of not get sucked out, but I like the fact that the headlines aren't moving the market as much as they were. And then on top of that, I'd like to see the market kind of go for all-time highs and just kind of, I mean, I'm a broken record with this, but kind of just kind of slowly step up to all-time highs and to 500, and I think that that's kind of what we'll see. I think that we won't that pretty soon we'll stop seeing these drastic moves in the market. These drastic moves where it's like it feels like the market is moving off a bean, a percent.
yeah, I'm about fucking sick and tired of this shit, dude.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, dude, you've hit you and me both. And I think that we're close on that. And so I think it'll take a little bit more, but I do think that we are close to that point. I think it's going to be, like I said, I really think the next big catalyst is seeing inflation lower. Once we see inflation lower, all the economists with like fucking, that are like fear mongering and like, food's going to go to like milk's going to go to like $15 a gallon. Once inflation's curved,
Your kids are gonna starve.
literally, like that's like what it is, and I understand that everybody's feeling it. I totally understand that, like I'm not being heartless here, but I do think that's a little excessive at the moment, and the higher gas prices just feeding into that. So once we see inflation lower for the first time since it started going, that's when it's like all the economists are like, we'll hopefully take a little chill pill, and that should stable out at least. Like everybody's like, okay, we're good. We're always going to have this debt problem, obviously. And then the Ukraine and Russia situation, like I said, it's super sad, that's happening, but the headlines aren't moving the market as much anymore, which is really cool.
Yeah, like it's not our problem anymore.
Yeah, honestly, like from like a financial standpoint, it really, I don't want to say we're really not that closely tied to Russia, which is and geographically, obviously, and
yeah, we're not geographically close to fucking anyone.
yeah, that's true. And
Pretty sick.
economically, we're not really that, like we're really not that tied to Russia. If this was like China, then that would be,
dude, we'd be in a sticky situation for sure.
yeah. And I read an article yesterday about it's like one of those like conspiracy articles, but I still like them.
Great.
And it was basically saying that this time next year, like tensions with China will be so high that like we'll have no choice.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be the only way to clear a debt, anyways. You're just gonna have to fucking fight up, dude. You owe a debt. I mean, they're gonna come.
I don't understand how China just. I mean, I understand it obviously, but it is kind of ridiculous that that we're just kind of able to do what we want. Like I know that we're both Americans, but it does feel kind of ridiculous that you and I, that as Americans, like we are just able to raise the debt ceiling with absolutely, like, there's literally no repercussions.
I mean, who's gonna tell them no?
I know. I'm just saying, like, I just think it's ridiculous. Like, we're just bullying everybody. Like, we literally are just like, new president, fuck it, let's raise the debt ceiling.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah, with absolutely no repercussions.
Oh well, dude. Dropped out of high school before we went over global economic policies of the debt ceiling and versus China. So I hope everyone loved this. Quarter 2 is going to be amazing. I said it. I was standing by it. If it's not, you can bitch at Hugh. But yeah, hope everyone had a great weekend and has a killer trading week. Take care. Peace, love, and iHeartRadio. Love y'all.
Pennies Going in Raw is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.